Hi, and welcome to Vote 2018 Santa Monica City Council Candidates. I'm Sandy Jacobson, your moderator for this forum. Election day is almost here, and this forum will give you an excellent opportunity to size up 6 of the 7 candidates for 3 open seats on the Santa Monica City Council. The individuals you elect will serve 4-year terms of office beginning in December 2018. This forum is being brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica Education Fund in partnership with Santa Monica City TV. The League is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization and never supports or opposes candidates for public office. This is one of 4 30-minute City Council candidate forums, each focusing on a different set of issues. The focus of this forum is bringing a divided community together. We wish to thank community members who took the time to send in their thoughtful and important questions. We will now turn to our City Council candidates. In alphabetical order, they are Scott Bellomo, Sue Himmelrich, Kevin McKeown, Greg Morena, Pam O'Connor, Ashley Powell. Each candidate will have the opportunity to answer a variety of questions with a maximum of 1 minute for each response. Questions will be asked of the candidates in random order according to a blind matrix created by the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica Education Fund. So let's turn to our first round. Our city, like our nation, seems to be often divided, not by the same issues. There's a lot of local agreement on many national issues, but by issues closer to home: development, housing, homelessness, income disparity, auto versus transit, and the list goes on. So this question goes to all 7 candidates. As an elected council member, what would you do to bring our community together, keeping in mind that if elected, you will be one of 7 decision makers? Kevin, let's lead off with you.
Well, the issue that I think has most embroiled Santa Monica over the last decade or 12 years has been development. And now we've gotten so divided that I've long been a slow growth advocate. There are people who feel I've gone the other way. I have voted against more development agreements than any other council member in Santa Monica history. So we're pretty severely divided over this issue. And I think it's time to declare peace and move on to the other issues that we have to work with in Santa Monica. There's so much we have to do. If we continue to argue over development, we're not getting these other things done. So I proposed, and the council has put on the ballot this November, Measure SM, which will say that for anything that goes beyond our adopted zoning code and our land use and circulation element, it will henceforth take a supermajority of the council to move it forward. That would take off the table so many of the very controversial issues like the Hines project that passed on a 4-3 vote. I'm hopeful that with this we can declare peace on the issue of development and move on to these other important things that we Santa Monicans need to work on together.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Ashley.
So a friend of mine has said to me that we are nothing without each other, and I think about housing and homelessness as one holistic approach. And I really feel that we need to integrate further homeless services, not just the typical social services that we have, but also micro enterprise. And my family actually helped co-found an organization called Piece by Piece that's now part of Skid Row Housing Trust downtown. And I think that bringing micro enterprise into our parks and our affordable housing and homeless shelters would really help our community to bridge the gap. Again, collaboration is the best way.
Thank you, Ashley. Greg.
So we are a divided community, unfortunately. The numbers run something like 94,000 people live in town, 65,000 are registered to vote, yet only 25,000 vote for city council. That tells you the disparity between the folks in town who are involved on a local level, who understand the importance of city council and what we have to contribute. I've been building bridges and coalitions my entire life. 1992, we experienced the riots in Los Angeles. In 1994, at Samo High, we had the Latino African American riots. I've always been in the middle. I've always been bringing people together. It's one of my great gifts from God, and I plan to bring that to City Council and look forward to working with some of the people on this stage and many others in building those coalitions.
Thank you. Sue, please.
Thank you, Sandy. I think the key to bringing the community together is communication. This one doesn't talk to that one. This one won't meet with that one. This one won't sit next to that one. I talk to everybody. I answer my own phone. I've never blocked anybody on Facebook. I've never cut anybody out of my life. I've never closed my door to anybody. I think we don't communicate well. We take small festers and they turn into gaping wounds, and we never forget them. So I believe that we need to talk to each other. We need to communicate with each other. When we have a problem with somebody's position, you don't just say you're wrong. You explain why you believe what you believe, and then you listen to what they believe. And there can be a conversation about this in every field of life. And I think that that's what we're doing wrong. And I have been working on it for the last 4 years, and I will continue to work on the communication.
Thank you, Sue. Pam.
I think it is also about building tolerance, recognizing, as Sue just noted, that people are going to have different points of view. And because somebody disagrees with you doesn't mean that they're the enemy. It means that they have a different position. It happens in families. Yeah, husbands and wives don't always agree, children and parents. But you need to talk it out. And you need to have that underlying respect for the other person. And that's in today's society, when you can be separated because you're doing it on a smartphone or a laptop computer, it's easy to spew out, to be angry. And we have to try to work to rein that in, to work to get over the kinds of things where you won't sit next to someone, to kind of get over that high school reaction. And just take a deep breath and say, that's my neighbor. We disagree on this, but you know what? We share a lot about what we feel about Santa Monica and what we want its future to be, and we need to work on that sharing.
Thank you, Pam. And Scott.
So I think everybody that lives in Santa Monica, actually anybody who lives anywhere, wants to be able to have a good relationship with the community that they're in. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I think that we have an opportunity, though, if from a resident standpoint, from somebody who's lived here for 30 years, I often feel that as a resident, I'm kind of the last consideration. And I think if, as a community, we start putting the residents first and thinking about them in relationship to what we're doing as a city, I think that's going to bring people together because it gives them a common focus. And so maybe it's a thing where, for me, it's I don't want developers to be first. I don't want tourism to be first. I don't even want homelessness to be first. I don't want Silicon Beach businesses to be first. I want the residents to be first. And I think if you communicate that the residents are the most important thing to what we're doing, I think we can actually find common ground because ultimately we all want the same thing, a nice place to live.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so for this round, each candidate will answer a different question. And candidates, remember, this is where you take notes so that you can ask the question you didn't get asked. Greg, we'll start with you. This question was sent in by a community member who says, it's my impression, this is a quote, it's my impression that this election year's biggest issue is that residents feel that council members are chronically, again a quote, out of touch with the priorities of the residents. The question is, what one thing will you do to avoid being out of touch with voters if you're elected? So be specific, please.
Okay, this is a great question. I have learned that the general fund actually funds the neighborhood organizations. And through those neighborhood organizations, it's supposed to be the communication between the council, City Hall, to those neighborhood groups, and vice versa, right? The feedback from those neighborhood groups should come back to City Hall. I would take it upon myself to communicate with all of the neighborhood leaders, to be involved in each one of those discussions. I've been in the community for a very long time, my entire life, so I know a lot of these people. I know their parents, I know their kids, so my ear is to the ground, and I expect for that communication to be more symbiotic. And as we develop better technology and we develop a 21st century forum to communicate our government, I believe these solutions will change that divide.
Thank you, Greg. Scott, in the past year, city staff has identified 3 major worldwide trends that they believe will have a great impact on Santa Monica. The integration of artificial intelligence, AI, the increase of user options in terms of services, and 3, which is connectivity. So the question is, do you support spending city funds to plan for this future? If yes, why? If no, why not?
So the future is going to come whether we want it to or not. Technology is going to come to Santa Monica, because they come to the world exponentially quicker each year. We have to embrace it. We have to find ways to use it for our advantage, and not for necessarily just for the advantage of the businesses that bring it to us. So yes, I absolutely support embracing technology. AI, of course, is a fear for some people because jobs will be eliminated. That's something that just happens throughout history. Every time a new technology is advanced, jobs are lost. But we can prepare for that by educating students today for the jobs that they're going to need later in this new technology environment. So I would support it, and I don't think it's really up for debate. I mean, we have no choice.
Thank you. Kevin, if Santa Monica were less of a regional, international tourist, employment, and shopping destination, the city would have less revenue to pay for a high level of public services. So do you think that Santa Monica's commercial success comes at the expense of residents? And if no, why not? And if yes, what services currently funded by Santa Monica's diverse tax base should be reduced or cut?
I think that the regional draw that we have become for tourism, for business, et cetera, both benefits and because a disadvantage to residents. I think the benefits are not well understood. That the revenue from tourism, for instance, was $365 million a year when I joined the council 20 years ago. It's now well over $1 billion, probably approaching $1.5 billion. That's a lot of money to have in your local economy to enable us to pay for senior programs, childcare programs, things that benefit residents who don't realize where that money for our parks, et cetera, comes from. On the other hand, having so many people come into our city every day, having our population swell from 93,000 a night to 200 or 250,000 by day definitely has a negative impact on us as residents. And certainly I, as a resident, have had to learn to live with a different flow. When I moved here 42 years ago, traffic came into town at night as people came home. It left in the morning as people went to jobs elsewhere, and that has reversed.
Thank you. Pam, do you believe that Santa Monica resources should be shared equally among residents and those who work here, or that Santa Monica has a duty to allocate the resources of Santa Monica predominantly for the benefit of the residents?
Oh, the people who live here, certainly the resources that are spent to help support their lives are public safety, education, parks and open space, just a wide range. But every day, those people go to work somewhere, some in Santa Monica, and they go to services in Santa Monica. They need to get their clothes clean, they need to buy products and need services. So having a good, strong business community is also important. So being able to make sure that we can support those local businesses that support our community is critically important for everybody's well-being. So it isn't a matter of residents versus businesses. We're all part of a community, and we need to work together to deploy the resources in a way that supports the needs of the community members, the residents, but that does include business.
Thank you, Pam. Ashley, will you work to shape policies that ensure Santa Monica can be home to people of diverse socioeconomic and racial ethnic backgrounds? If yes, what specific program or programs or approach would you advocate for? And knowing that you will be one of 7 city council members, how will you convince a majority or more of the other council members to agree with you?
Thank you. I think this is a great question for me. As I mentioned before, I'm a social worker, but I also have my master's in public administration. And I am a policy expert who has done work in housing and nonprofit fundraising and been doing qualitative research for years. And I feel that I can help any one problem or person find a solution when we have a crisis. And I definitely think that Santa Monica should be a model, and not just for sustainability, but for our greater Los Angeles County community and California. So I think that my track record and my former coworkers would say that Ashley will do whatever it takes to help the people of Santa Monica.
Thank you, Ashley. Sue, what would you do as a city council member to increase participation in our elections and in our local government by all segments of the community, including those currently underrepresented?
This has been a passion of mine since I first started working in elections in 1970. I'm a worker bee. I never ran for office until I was till 2014. I went out, I registered voters, I did voter protection. I think that you need to talk to as many people as possible. You need to welcome people into your fold as much as possible. You need to make sure that there are people from all areas of the community. You can't just stay in your neighborhood, you have to go to other neighborhoods. But most of all, you have to make the effort. It's hard for everybody, meeting new people, to bring them into your circle, to bring them into participation. I will continue to do that. I think I've done it so far, with a particular emphasis on younger people in our community, and I'll continue to do it in the future.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, so now each candidate has the opportunity to answer a question of their choice from the previous round, but not any question that you already answered. You don't get to double dip like that. Pam O'Connor, you lead off.
I'll go with the question when you talked about the 3 aspects of the future that the staff brought up: the integration of artificial intelligence, the connectivity, et cetera. That came from city council efforts to say that we need to keep our eye on the future. We need to look forward to the future. We can't predict the future, but we can make sure that our city is poised well to adjust and adapt to a future. Some things we know. We know there's going to be growing artificial intelligence. What does that mean to the community? What are the new technological innovations that we can predict, that we think that are coming? And what are the ways that we can connect, and that's been part of this discussion, connect to those people who live in our community and support our community. So making sure that we have that framework in place, that we're looking at keeping our eye on that horizon, so that while we can't predict exactly what will happen, we will be nimble, we will be flexible, we will have our eye on that, and we will be able to adjust and adapt so that we can maintain the strong level of service that we provide to our residents.
Thank you, Pam. Greg, what's your question?
So I'm going to answer the question: if Santa Monica was less of a destination or a commercial success, what would we cut out of our tax base in exchange for that? So Santa Monica is a success, and we're really, really lucky to be part of that success. So I don't want to see that success go away. I think it gives us the opportunity to lead in the world. A lot of our innovative policy, a lot of our forward-thinking ideas, that comes from our ability and the success that we've had. I'm an audit commissioner. And I get to see all the city's numbers. I know that a large part of our value is created by the staff that prop us up. It's incredibly important that we maintain that staff, we maintain those services in the city. We have the best police force, we have the best fire. I believe that we have the best city in the world, and it's going to require us to be forward-thinking, keep the residents first, but make sure that we're supporting our entire community.
Thank you. Ashley.
I want to go with the question that you asked, Greg, about our current council members being out of touch with the community. I just want to go and say that I'm a huge proponent of term limits. I think term limits is how I'm going to get elected someday, hopefully soon. And I want to say that when I do get elected, I'm going to respond to every inquiry as I can, and as I have been doing thus far since I've been running for office. When anyone emails or calls me, I have been responding, whether via email or saying, please call me. And I'm a problem solver. That's my unique skill set. I used to work for Vista Del Mar Child and Family Services, and I funded a project for Family Service of Santa Monica through the Santa Monica Rotary Club, a grant to motorize the gate in the back, which they'd had for the entirety of the nonprofit's existence without a motor. So I got a grant to pay for that and solve a problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sue.
Well, I would like to also answer the question about the issue of council members being chronically out of touch with what residents want. I think that residents are at a tremendous disadvantage from time to time in our city because people with business interests in our city have paid lobbyists and paid employees who have as part of their job to engage with the people who lead our city and work in our city. Unfortunately, for those of us who have day jobs, that is a harder thing to conquer, particularly if you have children or other obligations, parents. And I think that we need to make it easier for people with limited time resources to engage with us. It's my intention, if you elect me for the next 4 years, to have office hours, to have more regular open houses at my own home, and more regular open houses with the residents.
Thank you, Sue. Kevin.
Well, Sandy, I want to take that same question about technology and the future because I intend to live there. When I was in college, I was a physics major, so it's unsurprising I was a voracious reader of science fiction. The fascinating part about science fiction isn't the science, even for someone like me. It's the social implications of applying the technology. When you have some new technology, what does that do to the relationships among people? How does that shape a society? We have the opportunity here in Santa Monica to be very thoughtful about the new technologies and what they mean to our community. How do we keep them from dividing people? How do we keep them from gentrifying our city? How do we make them actually augment all the good things we already have in Santa Monica? The scooters are a great example. They have tremendous potential to be part of a multimodal transportation mix, but they were introduced in a very irresponsible way by companies that didn't come to the city and say, hey, let's work together. We have to become the kind of city where companies with new ideas come to us and deliberately want to sit down and talk with us because we can make things work better if we work together.
Thank you, Kevin. Scott.
Thank you. I'm going to take the out of touch question because, again, as a resident viewing it from the outside, I haven't felt like I've been represented on the city council or by the city council. The one thing I will do is that I will be a resident advocate. I won't consider myself a council person. I will represent the individual resident, and that will be a voice for them on the city council that is often perceived, whether true or not, that it's more about developers, tourists, Silicon Beach businesses, and the homeless, and then the residents come last. So I want to make it certain to the people who are out there that I actually look at everything from the perspective of being a resident in Santa Monica and how each issue is going to be handled relative to me, my family, my friends, and the residents of Santa Monica.
Thank you, Scott. Well, that concludes our City Council 2018 Candidates Forum discussing issues related to bringing a divided community together. At this time, we'd like to thank our candidates. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Santa Monica Education Fund, in partnership with City TV, we want to thank all of you for taking part in this 4-part Candidates Forum and for stepping forward to run for office. This forum will be replayed multiple times on Santa Monica City TV, Channel 16, and on cable channel 99, which is airing election programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until Election Day. All forums are also available on demand at smvote.org. For more information on both local elections and state elections, check out Voters Edge at votersedge.org. And we also want to thank you, the audience, for your interest. It takes all of us to make democracy work. Remember, cast your vote by mail ballots or go to the polls and vote on November 6th. Elections are won by those who vote. Thank you.